Hello collectors and trainers and everyone else watching the video. It's Steven here, and today I'm bringing you a review of the first set of Pokemon Gallery figures directly from the Pokemon Center. These more so premium fixed figures, that's a fancy way of saying statues kids, cost $16.99 a pop and can only be purchased through the Pokemon Center. I got mine through their website. These new figures caught a lot of interest since they were announced and released with only a couple of days, so let's take a look to see whether or not they're worth adding into your collection. First, we're taking a look at Magikarp, and we'll work our way all the way to the end with a particular mouse. I don't normally cover boxes, but to keep you interested with stuff to look at, and I'd imagine some MISB collectors have already got their attention with this, they'd like to look at them. So Magikarp's box is pretty simple with the promotional information and some pictures on it, but what's interesting is that all of the figures have the Pokemon and their attack listed on the box. Magikarp's is Splash. Now what's upsetting about these boxes is that they slap that dumb label on it to use the barcode when the box already has one. Anyway, Magikarp himself. He's on his side splashing out of the water, and I think this one is the best of the bunch to be perfectly honest, because looking at the entirety of the figure, the paint apps, they're pretty solid, there are a couple issues here and there, but not only do we get this really cool figure, we get this feeling of him actually splashing out of the water. The entirety of the base is made of that fake water material, and it looks pretty convincing. The paint, like I said, it could be improved a bit, especially with the random white spray marks, but given the size of this figure, most will probably be forgiving. Next up, we have Eevee and his box. Statistically speaking, it's most likely to be a he. It's pretty plain, just like Magikarp's, and his move is Swift, with a bunch of stars flying out. Now's also a good time to mention that though these boxes do look cool, they really do, they're unnecessarily large. Just look at all that free space in the box. What are they doing? Why? Anyway, Eevee. Pretty mixed on this one. I do like the attack. It's very cool to see Swift represented here. But the problem here is the paint apps leave quite a bit to be desired. And one issue with cheaper figures using translucent plastic is, well, it can get floaters in it. But first, let's take a look at Eevee. The tail and the main body have a bunch of random splotches of the tan yellow paint that's used for the tail, and the fur around the neck. Even then, the tip isn't very clean in and of itself. Moving up to the head, you can see the eye paint is smaller than the sculpt marks for them. Pretty upsetting there, but the rest of the figure is kind of in the same vein. The yellowish, greenish color for the stars is a little clumpy and splotchy in some areas, but the base looks relatively fine. Eevee rests on a translucent blue plastic, which if you look close enough, you can see some random black things floating in the plastic. And it looks kind of cheap when you factor that in. This is also a good time to bring up a good point, that all of the Pokemon are actually resting on their attacks. There's a nice integration there. So it doesn't look like there are any actual support stands used on these figures, which is great because some other fixed figures, they typically have metal poles to support the character. Good on ya for that one. Next up, we have Mew, who is using Psychic. The box has a very bright pink coloration to it, which looks cool, and it reflects light with that cool pink color. Other than that, it's got a window on it, and it's a Mew-themed box. That's about it. Mew's display is arguably the simplest of the four, with it leaping into the air with little noodles flying around it. To be honest, that's about all there is to it. Not very intensive or impressive, but once again we see the integration of the stand into the attack itself, hiding any sort of support to keep the Pokemon floating. Quality's a bit of a miss here, but overall the figure's pretty neutral. Yeah, not much to say here. Pretty bland. Last up we have Pikachu using Thunderbolt. You know the drill. Same box as the rest, but different. It's Pikachu themed. To go back to a comment I made earlier about each Pokemon having an attack, and with Pikachu being Pikachu, I wonder if the next few waves might have some Pokemon we saw in this wave, but with different moves. Pikachu could have Volt Tackle, maybe we'll see Eevee with Last Resort or something like that. Who knows? Anyway, Pikachu's actually placed inside the Thunderbolt, and it's a real action pose. Pikachu looks like he's ready, look at the tail tip, it's a he, to do some damage. So this clearly isn't Ash's Pikachu. Paint quality is about the same as the rest, but that pose is really sweet and the bolt is sculpted well. It's even pretty sharp. So when you look at the whole package, you can pretty much forgive some of the paint inconsistencies on this one. Only issue that some might have is that the bolt isn't centered in the display base. So those of you with OCD, I'm sorry about that. Now, an interesting comparison I found with Pikachu is that it kind of mimics the figurine we got in the red and blue collection from the 20th anniversary items last year. Is this a coincidence? Who knows? Last up, we have a size comparison with some of the other figures you might have in your collection. They're roughly the same size as an amiibo, but without any of the features. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. These dudes are pretty sweet with neat poses and attacks, but for $17 a pop, with quality less than an amiibo, and some World of Nintendo stuff with less features and no articulation, you can't help but feel these are a bit overpriced for what you get. Now, I understand the collectible label and the mentality, but the problem here seems to be that that's all they're resting on. Buzzwords like premium, gallery, collectible, to indicate that this is actually something worth a lot of money. However, once you factor out price, the actual product we get is pretty sweet. At first, I thought I'd just review these and then go sell them off somewhere. But if you're interested in having Pokemon in really cool action poses like myself, this is probably the way to go. They make absolutely fantastic display pieces, and once I'm able to get the display space to actually have Pokemon battles, you can bet these will be there. If we get more in the future, we can make some pretty awesome displays. So I am hoping that we get more in the future, but I'm also hoping that they come at a cheaper price. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below to share your thoughts. If you're interested in picking this figure up, or others like it, check the description for some cool links to take you where you need to go. Why don't you watch some more videos? Click the annotations on the screen now for more great content. Thanks again, and I'll catch ya in the next video.